1 2 1 2. I go by the name of DJ What, and you're now listening to the original Jeek Podcast. Let's go.
Ready to make an entrance, so backward cut. Come on, cut for me.
Oh yeah. Whoa, slow down. Whoa, speed up.
Fresh.
Yeah, making me itch.
What up, though? Jeeks. It's your boy RockinMrMagic, and this is another episode of the original Jeek Podcast.
Yo, G'd up. What's up, baby? Good.
Oh, I'm hyped for this episode, y'all. Is this your first time, you may have seen some of the promotion that I posted on Facebook. One, introducing you to our guest a little preemptively, but also because GR in the building, yo.
No,
This is a hometown link up. This is Midwest finest. Michiganders in the building.
Let's say Calder, downtown, G-Rap, Gun Rule. Let's get it.
Let's get it. So without further ado, I want to introduce our guest for this episode. He hails from my hometown, my birth city, Grand Rapids, Michigan, the one and only T.J. Sterling. He is an artist, a writer, and the president and lead artist at Ray Comics, which is an independent Black-owned publisher focused on ambitious, character-driven stories. Y'all need to check out his work, and we are so glad to have him and welcome him to the show. TJ, thank you for being here.
Magic, man. Hey, listen, I'm super excited to be here. Anytime I meet somebody in my travels of business or just even, regular leisure, and we're all from the same city, it's just a good nostalgic feeling, you know what I'm saying? It's almost like being from Smallville, you know what I mean? And you in a metropolis or you in Gotham or somewhere, and then you're like, oh, you from Smallville too? That's what's up, you know what I'm saying? What part of town? Oh, Southeast, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a good feeling, man. So I was excited to be connected with you and see what you guys are doing with the show, and I love it. So, and I'm honored to be on. So happy to discuss all things comics and nerdy, fun stuff tonight.
Absolutely, yes. So, listeners, we both from GR. We repping GR hard today. Southeast GR specifically, Dunham Street in the building. So, man, I gotta say, so offline, just so you listeners understand how hyped I was, because I didn't even know TJ was from GR. I had no idea. I didn't even know he was Michigander. So shout out to Carl Bird, DJ Carl Bird, who was on our Stranger Things season 5 episode. He actually linked TJ and myself up. He had TJ on his show. Shout out to Codex Prime Podcast and DJ Carl Bird for linking us up. But when we connected offline and we learned each other, we were both Michiganders. We were both from Grand Rapids. Instant connection. So the nostalgia is there. That Midwest thing. If you ain't from the Midwest, you just don't know. If you ain't grow up, sipping Faygo and Verner's, you don't know. If you ain't get your conies at Yester Dog, you just don't know. You know what I'm saying? You ain't rep East Grand Rapids. You ain't go to Ottawa Hills. It's a GR thing, baby. So, man, so we're gonna start back in the day. For you listeners that are familiar with the show, we like to interview our guests to get the audience, you guys, to know a little bit about our first time guests. So, new listeners, we're going to do a little bit of a interview section before we actually go in and have the type of fun that we generally have here on the original Jeek Podcast. So, starting back at home, starting in GR, tell me about just growing up for you in GR and how your love of comics grew during those formative years? Who influenced your love of comics, whether friends, family members, around your raising up years?
Yeah, man. I mean, as you know firsthand, like, Grand Rapids is a very, very artistic city. It's very eclectic. It has all, even though it's a small town, it's got a lot of big city vibes to it. You know what I'm saying? It really does feel like I remember seeing this poster on a wall of my middle school because I went to Northeast Middle School, and
Okay.
it was Grand Rapids, the All America City. And I never forgot that poster because the poster was lit because somebody drew it freehand and then they just made photocopies and colored it. And it looked like this futuristic kind of like very interesting interpretation of what downtown looked like. And, mid 90s, it's still coming up. It's still building, you know what I'm saying? But I think,
Yep.
again, we've always had the spirit of a progressive mixture of our cultures. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
I had I live on the West Coast now. I've lived on the East Coast as well. And, you can tell that there's a very specific vibe here. Like, hey, on the West Coast, we love West Coast hip hop. On the East, we love East Coast hip hop. But Michigan was always interesting because we loved hip hop from the South. We
Yes.
loved Coast hip hop. We loved LA hip hop. We loved everything. So I think
Yep.
we had this very unique, eclectic kind of like appreciation for all different types of artistic mediums and art forms and different styles. So for me, growing up with that, I was always intrigued by, music, art, games, anything that was creative. And
Mhm.
I'm a OG like G.I. Joe, Transformers, He-Man collector. I still got some of them old toys that are all beat up from,
Ooh,
man,
okay.
just falling apart. They're sitting in a box somewhere, but like, my mom was probably the first person to peg it. Like, hey, my son is a young black boy in Michigan. He likes this stuff. So what do I do to continue to like water this plant and continue to further his interest in this particular medium? So, the most logical thing was a comic book shop. It was that and like Toys R Us. You know what I'm saying? So on 28th, like those are the two, like, comic stores and toy stores were the joints that I always frequented and, was living in basically. So, I mean, yeah, we traveled to every comic store we could to get different issues, things that were missing. We would start with Argos, in East Town. Then we would, down the street from Yesterdog, we would,
Mhm.
Tardy's Collector's Corner. We would do Gold Mine Comics. We would do a couple of other joints that were nearby. And, it was one of the things like the art, the character designs, like the color, the stories were always so intriguing to me. I was like, man, this is such a dope. It just blew my mind. Like nothing was cooler than comics to me. Like nothing was cool
Mhm.
comics in like yeah, like comics, music, and like basketball. Like it was like, I was a huge Michael Jordan fan, even though I mean I was still a Pistons fan, trust, but like, Pistons at their heyday were a little bit before my time because it was like Isaiah Thomas's era, like mid to late 80s
Yep.
into like early 90s. Then he retires, but it was like MJ and Pippen and Rodman. That was really my era. So always rooted for Detroit, but always loved Chicago because I was like, it's another Midwest city. It's right across the way. But I just loved comics, man. I loved everything about the era of the 90s because to me, like there was such an explosion of creativity with like they were experimenting with all these different covers. They had hollow foil, they had, hologram, they had variants, they had metal covers, all this unique stuff that they don't even do anymore because it's
I
not
know.
even cost effective. You dig? So it was just such a cool time to be alive. And the very first comic I ever bought with my own lunch money was Jim Lee's X-Men #1. And that was the gatefold original first printing that I still have to this day. And I'm like,
Wow.
this is this is what I want to do. I want to draw like this. I want to tell stories like this. And that was like the gas that, the match that,
That
struck
lit
me.
the fire.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's dope, and that is really, really dope. Um, I unfortunately didn't. Well, I hit one of those comic stores on my one of my visits back home after I had moved as a kid. Um, the one by Esther Dog. When I ended up going there, because it wasn't there in the '80s when I was there, and when I went and visited family friends back in GR, and we went to Yesterdog, and I was like, "Oh, there's a comic shop here. Let me check this out." And it was dope. It was really cool. And I didn't have many where I was living in Pittsburgh, so going into a comic store, back home was a special vibe for me.
Yes.
I can really appreciate. I personally don't have the gift of my creativity being able to come out through pencil, pen, ink. I wish I had that skill. I just it didn't come to me. But I the what you see in bringing and soaking in the vision of comics is was so big for me as well because even though it didn't the comic part didn't come from my mom, it came from my mom's side of the family, it came from my uncles. And, when we would go to Philly and visit my grandmother, I would sneak up into the attic where my uncle still lived at home, and he had so many comics from the '60s and the '70s and the early '80s, and I would just pour in to I mean, issues of and this is I honestly like I like so many off-brand characters, not big mainstream characters. I like the mainstream ones, but I like some of my favorite comic heroes are like Nova. Like I was reading issues of Nova from the '70s growing up.
Mhm.
And I would go home and try to talk to my friends about Nova, and they would like if it wasn't Batman or Superman or Spider-Man or Captain America, they didn't know who it was. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to talk to them about, you know, I'm trying to talk about, you know, Night Thrasher and the New Warriors. I'm trying to talk about, you know, all these Luke Cage, even, and Iron Fist when he was still Power Man, like Power Man and Iron Fist. Like,
Mhm.
and most of my friends were like, I don't know who that is. But the way the world popped through comics, particularly Marvel, for me, because Marvel was so. Even though DC wasn't always dark and broody, Marvel always seemed to have more pop to it, more life, more colorful expression. Especially coming to the '90s with like
Yeah.
the Eric Larson Spider-Man run into Todd McFarlane Spider-Man run. There was just it seemed to just pop more with life and had more
Mhm.
vigor to the art. Um, and then you mentioned the '90s and the art that's not in the things that are done with comics that aren't done anymore. Like I remember the '90s was so great for those awesome releases. I have some of my favorite issues. The hologram Spider-Man 30th anniversary. I
Oh,
have
yeah.
all four of those. The Web of Spider-Man,
Yep.
Spectacular Spider-Man. Like I had two of them growing up. And no, I had 3 of them, and I didn't have the 4th, and then I read them so much that 2 of them, the covers fell off and everything, and I was like, you know, that comic book collector's dilemma, do I read the book? Do I keep the book safe? Um, but eventually, I ended up going to a comic store and finding the 2 that I had that were messed up, so I have my full set now. I
Yeah.
found the one I was missing, got the 2 back that had the covers fell off. Now I have my 30th. They're not worth anything, but I don't care. Like they're not worth a ton of money, but it's the 30th year anniversary. It's a hologram set, like, and it's Spider Man. That's my guy. Like, uh,
Yeah, that's,
it's so much cool stuff that they don't, like you said, it's not cost effective, so they don't do it anymore. But the limited
reprint
run of
has to happen.
yes, because like how cool was that limited run of Gambit in the '90s?
Phew.
And the limited run of Rogue in the '90s, the Belladonna story and all that tie,
Yeah.
and Bishop and Storm's limited run in the late '90s, her solo book, like, so much cool stuff that we just don't get anymore, and, it's a shame that younger generation of comic book, readers aren't able to appreciate that as much. Like they get variant covers and some dope variant covers, but some of those metallic covers and those hologram covers and some of those things that were really unique to that time, unfortunately, are lost to that time.
Yeah, I mean, they were taking serious risks back then, but you got like we all got to think about it as fans. Like they were moving serious units. I mean, they were selling millions of copies per book because there was this inflated investor market. So they're like, okay, like which one's going to be the next big thing? It's like, oh,
Right.
so they made a ton, and that was kind of what helped and hurt them at the same time. But like the production on a lot of these books was just next level, and I just find it to be such a special time in comics, a lot of inspiration, a lot of fun, like, and I hope at some point to be able to even bring some of that back with my own company, because I think Marvel can afford to do it now, but they just don't want to because they're more, focused on making movies and
Right.
DC kind of the same, like, hey, we gonna print this on cheap paper. We gonna, run of the mill on this, and then we will, maybe do some foil, setups, but like, for specialized occasions. But yeah, they're more focused on making movies now, which is fine. But that gives
Just
us
yeah.
the
But
time to
it's
make the real shit.
right. And it's because also they're corporate now. Like they're not Marvel. I mean, it's Marvel, but it's not. It's Disney.
Yeah.
DC is DC, but it's not. It's Warner Brothers. Like
Hmm.
they're the even in the 80s and 90s where when those companies were they were I mean, they both had financial struggles during that time. They were both still kind of maverick companies. They were both still kind of renegade type companies, even though
Yeah.
they had produced movies and had dabbled in you know they had success on TV with Spider-Man and Batman animated series and the X-Men. Like they had some success in other mediums, but you know they were still renegade companies.
Yes, they
And
were.
now that they're not anymore, we do have a whole some corporate stuff in this, which I get as fans, it's not as cool. However, it leaves the door open for people like yourself and other creators to revitalize or usher in a new era uh, of comics from more of the independent scene, which is dope. So speaking of that, leading up to that where you are now, you moved to the East Coast for college.
Yes,
When you
sir.
were in college, how did that passion that came up as a kid, and your ideas and your imagination, how did that come into focus as you were studying, in New Jersey, I believe?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's because at the time, this is 2001. I graduated high school, and there really wasn't a huge market for like consistent artwork careers in Grand Rapids. And I honestly wanted to spread my wings. My mother's from New York, so
Mm,
she's got family in Jersey. So I'm like, okay, let me see what the vibe is. And I'll tell kind of an interesting story, which I think people will kind of get a kind of be intriguing. So my mother's first exposure to comic books when we were very, very young was her um, one of her first boyfriends, Dwight Wiggins, and Dwight was a martial artist. He lived in Jersey, down the street from my mother's family, so they kind of grew up in the same area. And that was, her boyfriend for a little bit when they were teenagers. And then my mom moved to Michigan, but her and Dwight always stayed in touch. And Dwight drew a picture of the Flash for me and my brother.
mm,
And it was one of the dopest Flash drawings I'd ever seen in my entire life, and I was always blown away by Dwight was this cool ass dude, you know what I'm saying, who like was friends with my mom and did martial arts and could draw. And out of nowhere, Dwight just disappears off the face of the earth, you know what I'm saying? Completely just vanishes. Even his family doesn't know what happened to Dwight. And it was kind of a polarizing moment that never left me as a kid because like I'd see his relatives and even they didn't know. They don't know what happened with Dwight and where he went and how it happened.
mhm,
But he left an impact because he gave just a small gift of his talent to, one of his friend's sons, you know what I'm saying? Just to kind of, again, make us happy. And that was kind of one of them things that I never forgot because I always thought the Flash was the shit. Like before Flash was cool, I always thought, Barry Allen was really, really dope and his powers were dope and his rogues gallery was pretty lit. And then, I think about that because that was kind of like the spark that started this interest and this intrigue into comics and into what it meant and all that stuff. And then literally like not too long after being in Michigan and always focusing on art, like I was a big art student and I drew for the school. I drew artwork strips for the comic strips for the school newspaper at Ottawa Hills in
Okay.
ninth grade. Just like, my English teacher was like, hey, you could do this English assignment or you could draw these pages for us and you could, have a good time. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to draw these pages.
Yeah. I get to
I,
have fun and get credit.
yeah, I hated math and English and lots of other subjects, but art was always my thing. So moved to the East Coast. I started going to school, like an associate's degree in visual communications, which is like, just some basic, where you learn graphic design, you learn 3D, you learn extra things for illustration and then, painting, so on and so forth. So it gives you a base idea. And then I transferred those credits to a bigger university and got my bachelor's a few years later and focused in on fine arts. And, it was very apparent for me because I started thinking, hey, animation, gaming, and me being a 3D modeler and making figures is going to be my real future because comics was the springboard into animation. But
Right.
what was weird is that comics continued to call my name even when I was doing 3D. I just felt like, man, like, sitting in front of a computer and rendering stuff all day and waiting for things to model, this just isn't for me. But comics still called my name. So I'm back in school. I'm about to get my bachelor's degree in my senior year of college. I start interning at Marvel as a production intern. So like first I was getting coffee, then I was getting people's mail, and
Hmm.
then I was every week, every new comic book Wednesday, all of the employees would get comp samples. So it'd be a stack of
Okay.
books and we collate each book from all these different publishers into stacks, wrap them
Hmm.
up, and deliver it to their desk along with their mail. So they get to see what was on the market that week, which was kind of interesting. And then they've realized like, oh, you're an art student. You know what I'm saying? Do you got design experience? It's like, hell yeah, I do. So then they're like, well, we need somebody upstairs to work in the bullpen so they can do, they can work on pages. And I said, well, what's working on pages? Well, it's basically sizing pages for print. It's cleaning pages up in Adobe Photoshop. It's basically getting stuff ready to
Yeah.
go on the website and
Right.
be printed. So that was such a dope thing because I got to see the mechanics of how a comic book was made.
Yeah.
Which
Insight into the production process.
yeah, yeah. And now you could probably hire somebody on Fiverr to do it. But, again, this is 2010. When I'm getting ready to graduate, I'm having this internship and I'm like really excited about the learning of it because they were still doing things. They had just been bought by Disney the year before, 2009.
Okay.
Just bought by them. So it's a brand new, kind of relationship they had. They were changing from a privately owned company to a corporate company. And they still had that essence of like, hey, we're still doing things the old fashioned way. There was a anchor who worked there by the name of Pond Scum. He looked like somebody from AC/DC or one of them old 70s rock bands. He had that dry, long hair going down to the
Yeah.
floor, leather, big boots, you know what I'm saying? Spikes on his jacket, like, but he was like the house inker that would like live at that office and ink and work on stuff. And, he'd give samples to some of the interns. And, it was just a very interesting time to be at Marvel while they were transitioning into corporate. But that lit my fire, man. They got me to the point where I was like, listen, I feel pretty confident I could do this on my own. Like I've got the art skills. I've been training and building for a long, long time. And now I have the science behind how to make the book. You know what I'm saying? Now
Hmm.
all I do is raise my, save the money so I can pay to get it colored and print it. You know what I mean? So that was the vibe.
Oh, that's dope. Wow. That's a that's a really cool experience, man. You kind of, you answered my next question for me. So I'm going to take that and replace that question with, so you got this awesome hands-on education, at Marvel, which, obviously that's opportunity to kill for. Um, so you, after learning all those lessons, um, you had in 2020, you had a Kickstarter that was very successful. how did some of those lessons that you learned from Marvel directly impact your Kickstarter success with, um, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Alchemist?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the word Okamus, Okemus, is a place where all the characters originate from in this particular story. Kind of a hidden, complex that's run by three aliens from three different galaxies that have come together to essentially, influence humanity. And they've created a subhuman class of creatures through experimentation, but they also
Mm,
create the heroes, the hunters that essentially our job is to clean up their own mess. But I named the book Okamus because I wanted to be more just about characters and not one person. And I
mm,
also wanted to, shout out Michigan, Okemos, Michigan. So, because when people are from Michigan, they see Okemos and remember, they see my book and it goes back to the origin. So that's a little bit about Okemos. My internship at Marvel, unfortunately, didn't give me any insights as to how to run a Kickstarter properly, but it did give me insights how to make a professional looking product. And
mhm.
I spent from the 2015 to 2020. So I basically was hitting the streets with my book, selling it out of the back of the trunk like
Old
motherfucking
school,
like Master P and
right?
No Records. It was that
Yeah,
type,
yeah.
same vibe, like going to
Well,
stores, going to cons, to trade shows, whatever I could do to sling these books, you know what I'm saying?
mhm,
And I did that for 5 years straight. And I put out 4 books, within that time, all written and drawn by me. And I was
okay,
really building like a fan base of like a grassroots fan base. And first time I ever did Kickstarter, I was terrified because I was like, I don't know what the fuck this shit is.
right.
I'm a social extrovert, but I'm a regular normal introvert where like I like being in my cave, creating work, and I'll go outside and talk about it, and then I got to come back to the cave.
Right.
So Kickstarter was always very terrifying for me, but
Because
like
you got promoted. You got to be out there.
yeah, you
You
gotta
got
be out
you got to be loud and proud about it. You got to be like, "Hey,
there.
look, pre-order. This is really dope. Trust me. Give me your money." Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing was is that a lot of these people, nowadays people think that social media numbers equate to sales, and that's the great lie that they like to tell you that
Mm,
social media numbers don't do shit. You know what I'm saying? To keep it a buck and keep it
yeah.
being with everybody, like what really matters is one-on-one engagement with real live human beings, and you can only build that in person. So my very first campaign, I only had a couple thousand followers on my IG, on my regular Facebook page. We made over $20,000 on our very first campaign because A, we had some great people shouting it out, but B, there was this legacy group that I had spent 5 years building with, one-on-one, seeing them every year at cons. I was
Yes.
doing 12 shows a year, even, every year for 5 years. So it was a grind, but I was in the Midwest, I was on the East Coast, I was in the South, I was on the West Coast. Like I was going all across the country to talk about this book and what we were building. And, like I said, it was kind of like, oh, this is really beautiful. We hit COVID, we can't do cons, but people are still rocking with what we making. This is great. You know what I'm saying? It was a beautiful feeling.
That's super dope. And you are so right. Like without that that's what equity you put in. Like, we 80s kids, that's our heroes grew up like that, just hustling out the trunk. The big brands that we recognize and a lot of us try to emulate the Master P's, the Fubu's, you know, just hustling out there, grinding, getting your money together, making it and getting out there in front of people. But you put in that sweat equity and it paid off because, like you said, you really took that time to build relationships with those people that were recurring and they saw value in those relationships and in what you were producing. So over $20,000 on an initial Kickstarter, that's fantastic. And what was your goal, just to get an idea of what the
Yeah.
level of success that you had with that Kickstarter? What was the initial
Yeah,
goal?
we wanted, I think the goal was 5,000, and that was, and we broke through that goal within the first hour, which was kind of crazy. And again, it was no big promotion. It was just like, I mean, I worked with a marketing agency, black owned marketing agency to like, hey, help me run some of these ads, help me do some stuff that I've never done before and, write some press releases. But, it was really the fans that came through and said, hey, we are here to support what you're doing. And, I was really honored and humbled by that, man, because, I don't do this to make money. I do this because I love it. You know what I'm saying? It just happens because I love it, and I'm having success at it and I've got the right type of energy. But it was such a surreal feeling. I was like, I got to keep going. I got to keep making stuff. I got to do at least one of these a year if I can. One Kickstarter a year, which isn't always easy because they're a lot of work. I mean,
Yeah.
This last one we had Musa Lion of Mali. I mean, we, over 500 customers ordered these books and, it's a ton of books that we had to package and ship and get out the door. And it's hard work. You know what I'm saying? It's really, really difficult work. So yeah, but they honor us every time, you know what I'm saying? And that's why I'm like, listen, we just got to keep making it. We got to keep making stuff.
Absolutely. And it's awesome. It's got to be an awesome feeling to have knowing that there's that demand for it because of those people that are recurring and they understand and they appreciate and they want to continue to be a part of that journey. That's super dope. So with what you've created, one thing that I love that I want to highlight, which is kind of different from most shows that talk about pop culture the way we do, but here we center a lot of Black and POC stories, and you have again those. If you're new to the show, I happen to be Black. My co-host, who's currently on Heist, he happened to be Black. This is a Black-centered show, not exclusive, but we're going to talk about Black art and
Amen.
Black life. And we ain't exclude nobody because we talk about our Asian brethren and we talk about our white brethren and our Hispanic brethren. But understand when you listen to the show, you're gonna hear about some Black stuff.
That's
So
right.
if you come across the show and you don't like hearing about Black stuff, then find another show. Thank you for popping in, but we ain't gonna be it for you. So you have characters that have historically been pushed to the background that you're bringing to the forefront. So when you're building a new character or conceptualizing a new team, what does your process look to make them feel like they're real people and not just uh, representation for representation's sake? Not just take the out of the box, white superhero character and just boom, we're just gonna make this one Black or we're just gonna make this one a woman. How do you make that character or those characters feel, like a true representation?
Yeah, that's a phenomenal question. And I say that because, it's very easy for us as creatives that love something and that grew up with something to almost want to emulate it, subconsciously. So like if you have um, characters that kind of like you've got your core three, and then one's kind of like a Superman-esque character, but he's Black and he's got a cape and he flies and he's super strong. And then you have like more of a darker brooding character on some Batman type shit who's on rooftops. Then you have a woman character. Okay, you've got your Trinity. You're just kind of inadvertently biting DC in that thing. And I think, if that's your prerogative to be like a Black DC or you want to be a Black derivative of something, then more power to you. But I do think that it does limit your storytelling. I think it gives you kind of a ceiling and it doesn't necessarily, elevate your work to top shelf material. It might be, Budweiser and, where other creators are being Dom Perignon 85, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
There's this kind of idea that when you're creating characters, what is your desire? Are you just trying to make superheroes to make them so you can make some money? Or are you trying to, really do something groundbreaking and make a story you've never seen before? And my thing is I really, 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 in my heart of hearts, want to make shit I don't see. So like Shattered Visions was our first book about what was a Black cyberpunk comic. It was the very first of its kind. I mean, there was other cyberpunk comics, but there was no cyberpunk comics with Black characters or Black leads in them until my book came along. And then, the very first historical retelling and comic book form of Mansa Musa was done by my company. No one has ever made a comic book about Mansa Musa before, ever. You know what I'm saying? Which is crazy to me because he's the richest man to have ever lived. He can't, Mali in the 14th century was a sailing nation. They came to the United States way before anybody else.
1300s. Yes.
But, and they just didn't, rape and pillage and claim something that they knew wasn't there. So I feel like, there's so many great stories within the diaspora that we can tell. You really, if you want to make a dynamic character, you have to make something that doesn't exist, that's unique and feels like it's not derivative. And I feel like, it's such an easy thing. I mean, I've kind of caught some flack recently because I give DC a hard time because they're like biting anime and manga hard right now. Like,
Oh yeah.
Superman and Shazam merged and, they fused with Potaro earrings. Like,
Right.
that's like the laziest copycat ass bullshit I've ever seen in my life. Like, y'all can't think of nothing else.
And on top
Super Saiyan, like,
and on top of that, not only is it lazy, not only is it just flat out biting, y'all are late. Like, the fusion, that was happening. Like that was
1995.
That was the 90s, and then a lot of cats, here in the U.S. didn't discover it till Toonami, but in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, and it's 2026, and now y'all decide y'all gonna bite on this old stuff that's almost 30 years old. Come on, no, it's 30 years old. It's 30-year-old material you're stealing.
Your own material.
Like, come on.
You can tell they're grasping at straws, just trying to find what hits and what's popular. And that's why I said they're even like, they see a best-selling manga cover in Japan, and then they basically do an American version for a DC comic here. And while I can appreciate, the inspiration, I think that, it is low-hanging fruit to just copy and paste and not think of, an homage cover here and there is cool. I've got a couple.
Oh, yeah.
But it's my bread and butter. It's not like I want to make the next great cover. I want to make the next classic cover. And that's what I loved about the 90s. You had guys that weren't copying and pasting from, anime or manga. They were trying to make something they had never seen before. And I think as creatives, we have the challenge of literally making masterworks,
Yes.
You want to make the Mona Lisa, or you want to make a painting like a Norman Rockwell, or you want to make work that is iconic.
That stands the test of time.
Yeah.
That's unique, and people look at it and say, that is original. That is, there's no doubt about, like you said, like the Mona Lisa, which I'm not going to knock it, but I always felt a little mid, but that's just me. But what's great about the Mona Lisa isn't that it's it's the best piece of art. It is distinctive and clear on what it is and who made it. You look at something by Da Vinci, you look at something by Michelangelo, you look at art by Rembrandt. It is distinctive to their style, their strokes, and it's part of what makes their art special. It's what makes Picasso special. It's what makes Monet so special, and the distinctive creativity. And comics is such a medium that I think so many people can really appreciate. And you have an opportunity, especially now with the advent of technology and artists for hire, where if you're a creative person and you want to make something happen, it is so much easier to be able to make that happen and bring that uniqueness to life, and hopefully share it with the world that appreciates what you've conceptualized.
Talk about it. Yeah, it's we're in a space where, again, it's easy to not create something unique. It's easy to just type in a prompt on ChatGPT or whatever AI program, and then you can spit something out that's a derivative of the stuff that we actually make, the real artists. So it's like, I think when I get on these podcasts and I talk to people, I want to challenge people who are younger, who are coming up in the ranks to make things that are genuinely creative and unique, and really push yourself to make the next great iconic, image. You know what I'm saying? Like when I think about Purple Rain, the cover of that movie is like one of the most iconic images in the history of pop culture and in media. It's the equivalent, or even, the betterment of, like, let's say something like, all these painters that I'm mentioning, like, it has that more modern take when it comes to the colors, the positioning, and just the vibe that it captures of the 80s. I mean, you're talking about one image that captures a decade or more. I mean, that's what it does, and it gives
Hmm.
nostalgic feeling. So I feel like, you want to be able to create images like that. And that's what we strive to do every time. We might not always hit the bullseye, but I do think that we are making things that are genuinely special. And that's what excites me about where we're going with Ray Media, because we're not following trends. We're not, again, doing derivative characters. We're making characters that are genuinely unique and inspired. And that's like, my favorite thing, to come out with something different. You know what I'm saying? Something that
Oh
people
yeah,
ain't expecting. You know what I mean?
yeah. Something fresh, something you put your foot in. You know,
Yeah,
that they know that's you can look at it and be like, that's me, and nobody can take that away from me.
that's right.
All right, so I'm gonna switch up my last question here. So one thing when I was looking at some images I had found online of Alchemist, and um, if just because to tie into what you just said, it looked and felt unique and felt familiar at the same time, which I thought was super cool. Because looking at the design, I was like, okay, there's I'm getting vibes of getting kind of a Voltron vibe, but not really. And there's a bit of a kind of a little bit of a Power Ranger mix, but not really. And there was enough that I was like, okay, this is definitely unique. This is not a ripoff, but I can sense some levels of inspiration just in the art. Um, what are some of your fandoms that you have drawn upon that have helped inspire you as you've been not with just Aquas but with Joystick Angels and some of the other stuff. What are some of the popular media things that you can look back and say some of that nostalgic feel has translated into your artwork.
Yeah, I mean, Alchemist, my very first book, it really is a culmination of everything I liked growing up as a kid. So, there is some, inspired elements from like Dragon Ball Z in terms of like, some, because I did martial arts too. So, we learn about chi and energy control. So it's actually
Hmm.
a part of like what I grew up, what I'm saying, on. So like, okay, this is dope. So I put a little bit of that in there. And then like, the Hulk, the Incredible Hulk was one of my favorite characters. What I liked about the Hulk was he was a sleeping giant being awoken by trauma. You know what I'm saying? And
Yes.
I thought, that was a very interesting allegory for, Black folks here in America. Like a lot of times we are like sleeping giants, and as soon as we're provoked, that's when some crazy shit happens. You know what I'm saying? So me putting in, while the Hulk was an allegorical, like, what I mean, inspiration, I kind of made it more of a literal element and inspiration in Okemos and the main character, and how he's a regular kid minding his own business, being a young Black kid in his town, starting college, and then the Power Ranger escorts are more like cops. They're the police. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So they come and they start fucking with this dude, and automatically, when they come around, his powers, the sleeping giant awakens. So it's kind of, again, my take in my even own social economical commentary on police brutality and what that looks,
Hmm.
what they tried to do to young Black boys historically throughout, all the times. I mean, us growing up, we've seen some stuff, we've heard some stuff, even, I think with the last 10,
Lived
15
through
years,
some stuff. Yeah.
yeah, our people have been through some stuff, but men, how we're targeted, and, the masculinity of the Black man is targeted, the lots of things are targeted. So I talk about that without hitting you over the head and being preachy. I'm talking about that in the story of Okemos, through the lens of sci-fi. So I think, for me, it's like, I always thought the Power Rangers were cool and everything, but I'm like, the probability of like human beings being in suits of armor and, kind of like being on a power trip and being evil is more realistic to me than, a monster that they're fighting on the moon. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
Rita also. So I'm like, okay, just kind of flipping they're like, oh, the Power Ranger S Warriors are bad. You know what I'm saying? Like it kind of threw people for a loop a little bit. So adding in little things that I like, you know what I'm saying? Just little pieces, but still making it unique, making it different. And I was making like Super Sentai inspired comics before it ever even popped. You know what I'm saying? And again, few years later, we get the Shattered Grid, and we get all of these like stories by Kyle Higgins that basically resurrected the Power Rangers in comic book form,
Right.
because they weren't trying to make no Power Ranger movies anymore or TV shows. They just wanted to do the comics. So I think I was tasting or just kind of on the right cusp of a vibe that was about to happen. And I was pretty excited about that when I think of it, because it's the OG story. And then, the second book that we came out with was Joystick Angels. And that was our love letter to the 80s. Jerry curls, break dancing, arcades, you know what I'm saying? Vintage 8-bit games, music, you know what I'm saying? So that was like a whole vibe. So it was like Afrofuturism at its best, because it was retro, but it was futuristic. And
Yes.
these kids don't have no powers. They're just brilliant, pilots that are teenagers, and they're trying to essentially find their place in this world, in this universe that's being overrun by aliens. These kind of like, like parasitic organisms that spread from one planet to another. So I think that was such a different departure. It was totally different. And that book comes with music. There's whole little QR codes at the beginning.
Yeah, so I saw that, which is dope. Like that was like the connection between the creativity with music and the art, and especially for us as Black folk, and how we tell our stories, and so many of our stories have been told through music, and combining music with the art only enriches and deepens the entire experience. So when I had learned that, doing research, I was like, that's the dopest. Like that's gonna be, I ain't gonna front, that's gonna be my first purchase is Joystick Angels, because I want that immersion, full immersion type experience. That's the type of experience that's unique and it's out of the box, and you don't see it really happening frequently or at all. And that is something that I really think is something you can stand upon as a pillar of what you're doing, at Ray Comics. And that's just, I gotta shut you out on that because I love that aspect.
Appreciate you, man. Yeah, we were, again, just just something that was cool. And, that was fun because it was the first time I got to collaborate with my brother on the project. And, my brother, while he collected comics with me alongside me growing up, he was more of a music dude. Like music was the thing that he really inspired him. And he was band orchestra, you know what I'm saying? And then, he was also, eventually production beats, hip hop, EDM, rap, R&B, like all of that. Like he would eventually go on to learn the craft of making great music and,
Production, yeah.
production. We just have such a fun time working on that book because he, I put down the stories, talk to him about what he thinks is cool. He gives me his feedback. And then he goes to work on the sounds and the auditory vibes. And it's just a fun book, man. So anybody there's like a whole 100-page volume of that with like, 2 really dope soundtracks. So you'll have a great 3 dope soundtracks actually. So you'd have a great time on that.
Yeah. And for those listening and they're excited, trust me, there are going to be links in the description so y'all can check and cop, what you dig, because we're talking about some dope work here.
Yes.
All right. So that's going to conclude our interview section. We're going to have a couple other quick hits throughout the later end of the episode here. But as we're getting close to an hour of the episode, we're going to jump into a segment that TJ selected. For those who have not been a guest or don't know, when guests sign up and they fill out the little questionnaire, they have an option to pick a topic. And TJ selected one of our final 5 lists. So today's final 5 list it's not. It's a top five. It's not like a. And for those who are new, it doesn't have to be an objective top five. There will be times where we will do objective top fives when we're, being critics about art and music and movies. And then there's just, your fave five, your final five, which is Battlestar Galactica reference, your final five. So your five favorite Jackie Chan movies. Since TJ's the guest, I'm gonna let him go first, and then I'm gonna go, and we gonna keep it going. All right, so number one.
Trying to think. Well, should I start with number 5 and work up to number 1? I think
That's up to you. It's up to you.
So
this is freedom here, brother. You can You can start wherever you want to start.
I'm gonna start with Who Am I? Jackie Chan, Who Am I? To me was like a crazy underrated movie because the martial arts and that shit was really dope. Like like they had one dude who was just did kicks, like it was all kicks. You know what I'm saying? And I was like,
I gotta pause you just for the just for the applause. I don't remember who I was talking to, but I brought up Who Am I recently. Within a month or so, and I found it somewhere on the internet because I have it in my collection, but I have it in VHS. That's how old my copy of Who Am I is. But I love that movie. Like you said, the fight scene, especially at the end. I forget the martial arts name, the white dude, with the really long legs, such great taekwondo action. Choreography is phenomenal. But actually, my second favorite fight scene from that film is in the streets there in Rotterdam when he's got the Dutch pointy shoes on. That was hilarious. That was great. And there's so much. There's oh my god. So that is, man, you stole one of mine because Who Am I is so good. And one thing that's great and unique about Who Am I is the cultures.
Yeah.
Jack
I mean,
Chan
Jackson's in
embraces-
Africa.
He's in Africa, and he so spoilers for those who haven't seen it. But Jackie Chan loses his memory. He's a special ops guy. Loses his memory. African tribe finds him, heals him, and he assimilates into the tribe. He is dressed as one of them, full garb, spear, face paint, body paint. Learns the language. It's just beautiful, small microcosm representation of an African tribe. And then, he bumps into, a Japanese woman and her brother who are doing, some, Baja type, 4x4 race. And all of a sudden, and she's an underrated gem. I forget the actress's name. She's an underrated gem. And her driving in this, the stunt person driving in this movie is freaking fantastic. Great. And there's so much good stuff in this film.
Yes.
Let me ask you this. Because I used to joke with a friend of mine all the time when we would rewatch this film. Are you familiar with Scott Steiner?
Yeah.
Okay. Doesn't that one henchman that works for Morgan and them, the blonde that was at the he was leading things at the power station, doesn't he look like Scott Steiner? Like a little Papa Pump? I would love to him. Yeah, okay, look at this knockoff look this knockoff little Papa Pump looking old boy.
That's so true. Now that I'm like picturing it in my head, like, yeah, he did look like his ass.
He did look like him.
And that's another thing too. The 90s was dope as fuck for wrestling. The best era in wrestling was the 90s attitude era. Like, I don't give a shit what anybody's trying to say. It's better than the 80s, better than the 70s, and definitely better than now. Because we had The Rock, we had Stone Cold, we had like
we had the GOAT, we had HBK.
Yeah, we had HBK.
GOAT.
I mean, like, bro, we had the Wolf Pack. I mean, Goldberg. Like, we had so many just goated up dudes.
Don't get me started on that. Because we have one of our third podcast that we do here is pro wrestling. Don't get me started on that.
I'm coming back for the wrestling one, man.
Okay, we'll do that. We gonna do that.
Yeah.
But no, Who Am I is a fantastic choice, man. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Such a fun movie. Um, yeah, I could wax a long time on how dope that movie is.
Yeah, because
Um,
that was, like, lower budget, you know what I'm saying? You could tell they just were relying on a little bit more acting and a little bit more of, like he didn't have super crazy stunts in that, like, they're just relying on the martial arts and the story, which I thought was really dope because, again, they flooded the market when they saw that there was, an interest in Asian culture and, martial arts in the States, they were flooding the culture with movies and all kinds of shit, and I felt like, Jackie put out a ton of movies, and not
oh
all
yeah.
of them were so good, but, like, some of them shits was art, and Who Am I was one of them just that this is art. And that brings me to my next one, for number 4.
Well, hold on, I'll give one, and then we'll go back to you. Um, Who Am I is a fantastic choice. Now, I can't. I'm going to make it impose a rule on myself so I can't duplicate you. Because that was going to be one of mine. So I am going to go with. Okay, so this one is a personal favorite. Um, it has multiple actors that I really like. Jackie, and then the co-star who I particularly love. The action is fantastic. The stunts are out of this world. The music was unexpectedly dope, and it is very 90s, and that is Police Story 3, aka Super Cop. Jackie Chan, Michelle Yeoh. Super Cop is it's so good. And it's Michelle, and I know Michelle Yeoh and Jackie Chan would like
I was
each
about
other
to my
all
number
that much.
4. I was about to literally say that. Trust.
Super Cop is so good. Um, the acting, the story, the even where he's and my favorite fight scene is at the training yard
Yep.
where because it's just it's so fun and it shows the brilliance of Jackie as an action star compared to everyone else because he takes hits. He's not infallible like every other action star where they're always dealing damage and they never get touched.
Yep.
Jackie be getting jacked up
Yep.
sometimes.
That can get
Uh,
jacked up.
and his reactions to and that's what makes that fight scene so cool because I mean, one, it's an exhibition. So like it's not even supposed to be it's not even a serious fight. He's not fighting a bad guy. He's it's an exhibition between him and one of the instructors. And
Mhm.
he hits the dude and he's like, "Ooh." He's like, "Oh, that hurt." And then you see him, change his style and you just see the fluidity that Jackie goes between, between the boxing style to, to taekwondo to traditional karate, like just so much that he knows, and he does it with comedic timing, the choreography, just it's just so much great stuff in Super
Yeah.
Cop, and the hip hop was there. There was a Tupac song in the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
so dope.
yeah, Super Cop that's a phenomenal movie. That is really, absolutely just cinema, you know what I'm saying? And again, Michelle Yeoh is iconic in her own right, and I felt like, him having her in there because there wasn't really a lot of male action stars sharing the spotlight with women back then. Like, it was
Right.
very unheard of to have a woman co-star that was just as tough and had that grit that the male character had. So to be able to have her in there in the '90s and she wasn't a white woman, or like it was really she was a woman of color, which was crazy. I was like, this is some groundbreaking shit. But like I could sit there and watch Jackie Chan movies with my mother and she would appreciate, what was going on with those movies. And Super Cop was one of them joints, man. I was like, yo, this shit is tough. But that brings me to my next one because if we go on
Okay.
big budget, we're talking, Operation Condor, bro. Like, I loved Operation Condor. Like, and see, the original Operation Condor was essentially the second movie, right? There was
Yes,
the
because there's
first
because it's so for
Armor of
those who don't
God.
know, Armor of God. Yeah, so it's Armor of God, and there's
Yep.
Armor of God 2, which is codenamed Operation Condor, and that one's it's better than Armor of God.
Yeah.
It's better. It's funnier.
Right.
It's better. Yeah.
And see, like, I like that Jackie had 4 beautiful black women with long legs that looked like Supreme singers, but they were whooping his ass in Operation Condor. And the stunts were incredible. I mean, this cat's riding a motorcycle and jumping off a cliff and onto like the whole action thing that he did back then and with that particular movie, what I think is some of the best action you're ever going to see, excuse me, that's been sampled to this day. I mean, like, Operation Condor is like a staple in the action genre classic that you just can't ignore because it has everything: explosions, car chases, motorcycle chases, beautiful women. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think there was even a little bit of nudity in it. There was,
There with the German chick. Yeah,
yeah,
they had her. They had in the shower,
yeah,
and then the Chinese chick, they had her too. They was like, Jackie was getting was how the British call it. He was a little randy.
yeah, yeah.
He was a little randy. It was I was like, yo, and that I think that was one of the that was one of the few that was like a true rated R because of
Yeah.
some of the nudity.
He never
but
really did stuff like that. Like,
Yeah,
he was
you
very
didn't see that
conservative.
much.
Yeah.
Hong Kong cinema is not known for that really. So,
Yup.
him having that was fun, and it was cheeky, and it wasn't like gratuitous. They weren't like, oh, look at the naked woman. It was, here's a little hint, and it was for
How they
comedy's
shower in
sake.
China, it's a foot pump, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, she's doing a foot pump. You saw a little booty cheek.
And anybody who's watching this, if you don't know, you know, traditionally in China, you would have the toilet was on the floor. There
Yes.
was no seat. You would have to squat like you were you were picking something and you had to squat to take a shit, and there was no toilet paper. That's how it worked in China in the 90s. They didn't have no regular ass toilets. You know what I'm saying? That's a Western invention.
Yes, indeed.
Crazy.
Yes. And even the toilets like in Japan are super low.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
you
make
gotta have them knees. Your
knees.
knees can't be bad
Yeah.
on them joints.
You gotta have the Maxwell knees, you know what I mean?
Right? You gotta have them. You gotta have them in the club. Them early 2000s in the club, dropping like his high knees. Because
Yeah. Listen,
yeah.
we gotta quickly shout out to the movie The Protector. If you
Oh,
haven't seen The
Chow
Protector
Yun
with
Fat.
Jackie
Oh,
Chan,
Jackie Chan. I'm sorry,
this is Jackie Chan and Danny Aiello.
Danny Aiello. Yes.
So Jackie
Yes.
Chan's in New York. It's like a dark buddy cop action movie, but there's really
Underrated
very
film.
minimal laughs. But Jackie's swearing, he's saying fuck, he's saying shit, he's shooting people. There's like they go to a sex parlor and there's naked Asian women everywhere. Like, it was a darker, grittier movie. And I'm like, yo, Jackie's really doing some different shit with this one. Just to shout out that movie. That just gets a special mention.
Okay, honorable mention. So, I'll follow suit. I'll throw out an honorable mention. This is a Jackie Chan movie that has no action as far as um martial arts action, I should say. There is a little action in it, but it's not he's not fighting anybody. It's a 2009 movie. It's called the Shinjuku Incident. Um,
Ah,
and it's good. It's really good. And this is where, like, because Jackie Chan considers himself more than an action star, he considers himself an actor. And if you want to see Jackie Chan acting, where none of the comedic reliance of martial arts and being goofy are at work at all. This is a very serious movie about a Chinese immigrant um, dealing with I think Yakuza, and he's like leading of I think he's like union leader, and he's dealing with organized crime. And it is a excellent film. I highly recommend it anybody who's a Jackie Chan fan to wants to see him act. Watch Shinjuku Incident. Really good movie. That's an honorable
on my
mention for
list,
me.
man. I haven't peeped that one. I mean,
Oh, put it on your list.
it makes me think of The Foreigner. Did you see The Foreigner with him and Pierce
Him
Brosnan?
and Pierce Bronson. Yes, yeah,
And like,
yeah.
very serious type of movie for Jackie, acting more than doing a lot of them. I mean, he still do some, but like, it reminds me of that. Okay, so now we got to get your other movie, man. Like, what's the next one on the list? Because I'm so
Okay,
curious.
so I gave you Super Cop, So I got to give you my number two. Ah, man, number two. Mm. Number two for me. Number two for me is going to be the only Western film I'm going to put on here, and that's Rush Hour 2. Um,
Okay.
Rush Hour, Rush
Works.
Hour 2 to me, it's one of the best sequels of
Yeah.
it because it's better than the first, in my opinion. It is
Light
one
years.
of the best sequels in film history. The chemistry between Chris and Jackie is peak in Rush
Mm.
Hour 2.
Yes.
The comedy is hilarious. Rosalind Sanchez, peak
Mm-hmm.
Rosalind Sanchez. Um, and if Lord knows if I had my way, Zhang Ziyi would have been my wife. She's in that joint.
Yep.
So I love me some Zhang Ziyi, man. Oh, I love that woman. She called me today. I'll change my last name. She was fantastic, coming off of Crouchy Tiger, she's in that joint. Um, the choreography was phenomenal. The story was fun. Um, the comedy, just the little things, just Chris Tucker, and like because it was like like when Jackie Nim starts climbing up the bamboo and Chris starts climbing, the dude falls down.
Oh,
Chris is like,
yep.
every black person's reaction.
That's exactly what.
Every black person's real reaction.
Yeah, I'm taking the
No,
stairs.
I'm gonna take the stairs, and like, and then when that Chinese woman looks at him, she's like, and she says in Cantonese, move aside, Kobe. Just random hilarious joke. Y'all sound like Kobe. I was like, what?
That motherfucking what is it? Damn, Chin is some greasy shit, dude. He's motherfucker. And he's like,
Well, that's the first one. That's hilarious too.
Yo, that had me die. Every time I see a reel of that or like I straight just can't stop laughing. This shit is fucking
it's hilarious. Him at the casino, do you see my people endure 427 years slavery? So you just send us back to cotton field with $500 chips? With $1,000 chips? Give me my chips. Like, it's so many quotables from that movie. You don't jump in front of a black man in a buffet line.
Ever touch the black man's radio, boy?
So hilarious. And actually, one thing I think that puts Rush Hour 2 up there for me, and it's a Jackie Chan staple, is the outtakes. The outtakes from Rush Hour 2 are hilarious.
Yeah.
Like Chris Tucker and Rosalind Sanchez, he's like, it's probably my favorite one. And he's like, when he does all the pretends that he's Hispanic, he's like, oh, you must know my good friend Juan Carlos Manatos. And he just keeps doing name after name, and it's hilarious. So it's just so many. I think it's like it's the best Western film with Jackie's. The combination of comedy and action, and the chemistry between himself and the other stars were just fantastic. So Rush Hour 2 is my number two.
Yeah, that's fantastic, man. Shoot, that was such a good movie. Yeah, I still quote that movie to this day, and it's funny because a movie's good when you can still quote it, and with inside jokes with like the homies that watched it with you when it came out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you could, when you could hit your brother up, you can send him a text message with that quote from that movie. That's when it was good. And I wish more movies nowadays were quotable like that, because I've yet to be able to find a movie that's quotable now in this particular era, which is crazy to think. Like, it's like, mind, like, okay, all the dope shit I done watched this year, what's quotable? I mean,
that's a really good point. I haven't thought of that. There's not been that many films that are all that quotable lately,
bro. Because again, like there was something about these cats were artists, these script writers, man. Back then, like you had to have a good script. Like they couldn't play, because now they can make a mediocre script and they can put like a big name actor behind it to just sell it. You know what I'm saying? Like I think that era of the movie star where quotable lines and certain things. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger had quotable lines. Stallone did. Denzel had them. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of people who had quotable lines in movies that you remember to this day. And
Oh yeah.
Rush Hour has them in spades, thankfully.
Yes.
But that brings me back to, I mean, I got two. You might catch the other one, but I mean, the very first Police Story to me was
I can't
mind
with
blowing.
you. I can't with you. You keep stealing my stuff. That is my all-time favorite Jackie. To me, that's the best. Police
Yeah.
Story 1 is the best Jackie Chan film. But
I mean,
I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna let you go off. Go off on the Police Story.
He's falling out of cars, 2-story buses on the pavement. You know what I'm saying? That's him doing that stunt. He's falling out of buildings. You know what I'm saying? He's getting thrown through glass. He's still fighting people. Like, he's literally like puts his body through the proverbial ringer and comes out on top, beats the bad guys, gets the girl, saves the day. Like, you know, Jackie's the shit in that movie. Like, he can't, like, he's indestructible. And 85, like, they didn't have no like safety precautions. They couldn't Photoshop some in CGI some shit in. They had to do that stuff.
Yeah, like the fact that that man ain't dead after that film, bruh. You know, like, I mean, you mentioned half of it. Like that's a real motorcycle that he's sweeping someone's legs with. That's real glass. Like, yeah, like even when they have the girl that played Selena, when you see her take her bump through the glass, you can see the pad, you know, on her back to take the brunt of it. But that's real glass. Like, you can see it's. And then he does that leap off the second floor, down the pole, through those lights. You see those sparks.
And those are real.
That's real.
Executed, you know.
Yeah, like, how is he not fried? Like, yo, like,
not a fucking piece of charcoal by the time he gets to the bottom. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I consider myself to be pretty tough at my peak. I ain't that tough.
Listen,
I ain't that tough.
Jackie was special, man. And you know, like I said, watching that as a kid, I just was like, what the fuck? You know what I'm saying?
Mind blown.
They kept trying to, you know, top that, you know, with each movie. I mean, people could talk about Police Story 2. I didn't really like it.
I like it.
It was cool. I just kind of forgot about it because to me, when Super Cop came out, I'm like, okay, well, now I see the actual progression of how what they were going for. But go ahead, yeah.
The problem with 2 is that it's a continuation of 1, and it's not as good as 1. So a lot of times people will have memories of 2, and they confuse it and they mix it with 1 because 2 is a true sequel to 1, where 3 is a years later type of sequel. Same with 4. So, but 1 and 2 are. I think a year separates 1 and 2. So like it's there, and there's so many scenes that are kind of, I want to say similar, but he's fighting some of the same bad guys. So you kind of get some of the fight scenes mixed up between 1 and 2.
It kind of felt like the B sides, you know what I'm saying? It's the remix to "Step in the Name of Love" Part 5. You know, like it's that type of energy. You know,
right. As black men, it's we obviously, we mentioned earlier, police brutality, and we're not ones to want to see that. But when Jackie is beating Chu at the end, and all the cops are there, and Uncle Bill's like, "Oh, what are we gonna do?" And the chief is like, "Nothing happened." I was like, you know what? I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that level of police brutality there, because Chu had it coming. Yeah, right. I ain't seen nothing either.
Straight up, man. Yeah, that's that whole series is I appreciate Jackie for doing that. Crazy things. It's like, oh well, Jackie had like the a deep, like, he had a whole music career in China, and it's just like, multi-platinum singing artist in China, and like literally he's got theme songs. Like, what is it? What, like the police state? A couple police stations like had his song as their like official state song.
Yeah.
Like Jackie was, he was doing his thing, man. Like, and shout out to if anybody's an Agents of Shield fan, I discovered this, that Chloe Bennett, the white and Asian chick, real good looking, that on the Agents of the Shield show, who played Quake. She played the Quake character. She had a whole career as like a pop singer in Asia before she even started doing stuff here in the States. So like, I find it to be kind of interesting when people dabble and they do different stuff and they have that type of a vibe going on. So yeah, man. Jackie was doing his thing in Police Story. So okay, so go your next one, and then I got my number one.
Okay,
we might cross over.
You took my number one. So
you can say your number two as long as whatever.
I mean, you took my number one, but because I love I could go on all day about Police Story. So my third one I'm going to put out here is a kind of a sequel, almost reboot. It's when Jackie's still a little older, but it is The Legend of Drunken Master.
Ooh,
that
was good.
Like, I mean, it's Drunken Master's a silly tone, so part of it is just the fun, but the choreography is on par. The drunken boxing, particularly, and then the big fight with the character's name I forget. It's like John. Yeah, the character's name was John, but the way he flicked his leg in those kicks, his kicking speed was on point, and he's just sitting there. And for those who didn't see the movie, like his leg is bent. He's just going, and it's like, how are you that flexible?
Yep.
How do you have that type of balance and you just whipping your leg around, and just the precision of those kicks, phenomenal. Jackie's drunken boxing. No one's done it better on camera than Jackie when it comes to drunken boxing. And it's a fun film. It's got its own comedy too, especially when he gets drunk and he's singing and rest in peace, Anita Mew. She plays his stepmother in there. There's a lot of comedy with that. Legend of Drunken Master is so good.
And see, for everybody who's watching, so they understand, like, movies with the title Drunken Master have been out since like the 60s. All different types of martial artists have done their version of what they think that character, the Drunken Master, is. But Jackie just happened to do it the best because he's Jackie. You know what I'm saying? Twice. And I think, definitely one of my favorites. I completely almost forgot all about that one because he was drinking, he'd get bright red. Like, I was like, that's a good ass movie. But yeah, it had the classics in there. So, okay. So my number one, I'm surprised it hasn't been mentioned, but my number one Jackie Chan movie is the very first Jackie Chan movie I ever saw. And that's Rumble in the Bronx. Rumble in the Bronx, baby.
Rumble in the Bronx is so good. That's one of mine too.
That's another movie I could quote all day. I thought, they had, a mixture of like great actors, actresses in there. I thought it was funny as shit that there was like people speaking English and they were dubbing over the English with more English, and they were filming in Hong Kong to make it look like New York.
Yeah.
But Jackie's stunts in that were just like, if you talk about like, because you could see that Jackie's team sat down and said, okay, what is the dopest, like, like gateway drug to your whole entire catalog? You know what I'm saying? Because they couldn't have went Operation Condor first in the States. There's no way they could have went that way because it was such high octane action that it kind of seemed like, okay, we had Rumble in the Bronx. We had Super Cop after that. Then we had Operation Condor. Then you had like Jackie Chan's First Strike. So like it literally went like this. You know what I'm saying? And then it kind of tapered off like just like a crescendo in terms of like the peak of how it happened. So I think Rumble in the Bronx is like the perfect Jackie Chan movie in terms of the comedy, in terms of the action, his uncle getting married to a black woman. And, you know, like, again, the comedy behind that, but like,
It was so good.
it's so good. You know what I'm
It
saying?
was
Like,
so good. And then Anita Mewes in that too, and
yeah.
she even have any action in, but she's comedically so great in that.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, the comedy was on point. Um, you know, the woman who played Nancy was fine in the mug.
Yeah. Yeah.
She was fine.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the you know her little brother in the wheelchair kept on playing that Game Gear that he had no game in
There
it.
had no game in it. Like that. Yeah.
You know, and then but no, it was really dope. And I think that while I don't consider it the best, it was the perfect for his American release.
Yeah.
For that to be his first movie released, you know, in Western theaters, that was a great choice. The casting was good, and it was true to form for Jackie. And there was only the one stunt that he did where they, you know, where he leaped from the
His knee from that little partition.
well, no, now when he broke his ankle, because he did that one, but the one where he leaped from the parking garage to the other
Yeah.
building, you know, they had to reshoot that, because that's the one jump he didn't make, but everything else, I mean, especially when and again the outtakes, you see him break the ankle leaping onto that, you know, bridge thing, part of the bridge, and then you see where he has the cast, and they have that big sock that's painted to look like his pants and the shoe, and it's like, how he did all this stuff at the end in a cast.
Yeah,
It's
and
like, bro,
stunts in pain. This dude's he's different, man. Like Jackie's cut different, bro. Like I'm
built,
just
built different.
yo.
The only thing about what the Rumble Bronx doesn't have that a lot of the older films do have, and what separates it from me, like Police Story, is because we can't talk about Jackie Chan realistically without talking about the stunt team and how great the stunt team is.
Mhm.
And his stunt team, to me, was at its peak in Police Story. And another one, and my next one, which is going to be my number 4 that we've given here. Um, it's up here, one, because it's fun. It's a little older, but it's got him. It's got a little bit of Sammo Hung, but it has, in my humble opinion, and I think objectively as well, the single greatest fight scene in cinematic history, and that is Wheels on Meals,
Oh,
because of the fight between him and Benny the Jet Rodriguez.
yeah.
And if you don't know Benny the Jet, legit fighter, not an action star fighter, legit fighter.
Yeah.
And you can Google Benny's real fights, and you can see Benny Benny was that dude, one of the toughest men in modern history. That fight scene it's perfect.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Yeah. No, that's a great one. That's definitely a favorite right there. And you know, I always liked Jackie and Sammo Hung as a team together. You know what I'm saying? Like I always thought that, you know, it was kind of like a good, you know, yin and yang type of balance because they could, you know, play off each other's comedy. They knew each other really well. And there was really like a lot of great chemistry in the movies that they were in together. And
Mhm.
one of them that it just was really, really kind of special. And yeah, man, I have so many fond memories about Jackie Chan movies because it'd be something me and my brother would be sitting watching in Michigan at the house, just chilling, like running them back. Okay, which one we at next? Because, you know, we practicing martial arts. We just having a good time. So it's just like,
Yep.
shout out to Jackie, man. Like, listen, you know, they, we could have a whole other discussion about Jet Li movies. We might have to do that on the next Zoom too, because that's,
I'm with it. All right.
bro.
So before you give your number 5, speaking of our home state, um, how do you feel about the Jackie Chan film that has the name of a city from our home state in Battle Creek Brawl? Have you seen Battle Creek Brawl?
No, I haven't seen Battle Creek Ball. I'm about to get on that too. Shoot.
Okay, I'm
Put
okay.
me on game, man. Appreciate you, dog.
Battle Creek Brawl. It's not about Battle Creek at all, but the name is there.
No,
The-
see, you kind of you had when you said Super Cop, that was one of mine. So now I got to think of another one. But man, Jackie's done so many good movies. I mean, I want to kind of honorably mention Shanghai Nights, because both of those
Shanghai
movies,
Nooner Nights.
I'm sorry, Shanghai Noon. I wanted to talk about that one because
Okay.
the first one to me was fantastic. Second one, it was
Yeah,
all right.
it was
The
okay.
first one was like, this is a good ass Jackie movie, and it was one of its more modern U.S. takes. But if we taking it back to just OG Jackie, like, I think for me, I'd have to go with Fearless Hyena, the first one.
Oh yes, okay.
That shit was dark, and like, he was doing his training regimen. When he's doing shit with the trees and planks of wood, this is some shit that, like, you'd see, like, when people saw Van Damme doing it at Bloodsport, Jackie did it first. Like,
Yep,
these kind of
exactly.
like extreme outdoors training methods to build strength and agility, and then he has to fight the ultimate grandmaster at the end. You know what I'm saying? The white-haired pie-made looking type motherfucker
Yep.
and to avenge his fallen people, he's got to kill this fucking guy. You know what I'm saying? And he does it in effortless style. And then they made Fearless Hyena 2 and 3 and brought the same nigga back in a different uniform. We ain't gonna talk about that, but that first one was like, whew,
Yeah,
killer.
absolutely. Yes. Okay. So that's your number 5, Fearless Hyena.
Yeah.
That's dope. Okay. My number 5 is tough because there's a couple that I would want to choose. Ones that I really like a lot. Um, like I'm a big fan of City Hunter. It was a lot of fun. But if my number 5, so this one is more this would make most people's top 5 Jackie Chan lists because it's not heavy on the martial arts, and so much of it, Jackie is there's a lot of parts where Jackie's not even in it, but it has a great cast. It's got Jackie, it's got Tony Leung, and it's got, I forget her name, the Asian woman that was in Transporter. She stars in it as well, and it's called Gorgeous.
I was about to say Gorgeous. Yeah, that's a good ass
And
movie, man.
Gorgeous has one. It's a lot of fun. I like it because it's cute, and you got it's heavy on the romance between Jackie's character and the young woman. Tony Young plays this gay dude that takes her in, and it's absolutely hilarious. This is Tony Young playing, and not that it's hilarious because he's playing a gay dude, but the character he's playing is is gay, and he's
Yeah.
and when you're used to seeing Tony Young beating people up or shooting a bunch of people like in Hard Boiled, the
Mhm.
contrast is hilarious. But if you're a Tony Young fan like I am, there's a fantastic film about him and him where he plays a gay man in a very serious role. Really good movie. But yeah, Tony's hilarious in this film. But shout out to the late what was his last name? Oh, yeah, I'm gonna have to Google it. It was Brad.
The white dude that passed away not too long ago that was in a couple of Jackie movies. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yes, his name was Brad Brad Allen. Brad
Yeah.
Allen. So, Fint, it is one of the best, um, you know, quote unquote boxing. We say boxing, Western, we're talking about, you know, in the ring boxing, but in Eastern boxing and it's essentially it's martial arts, but heavy on the fists in this scene. Brad Allen and Jackie Chan have a phenomenal final fight scene that is some of the best choreography, some of the best boxing, um, Eastern boxing style that you will ever see captured on film. And it's great just to shout out to Jackie, his fight, his stunt team, and also the directors behind all these films. Because you don't see 8,000 cuts in these fight scenes. We're talking single cam, focused, one shot, not swing, camera cuts the other side, kick, camera cuts here. No, there's none of that garbage. You're seeing everything. And the fight scenes are good, but that final fight scene in Gorgeous, there's not that many because it really is a story about their relationship. But that scene at the end with him and Brad Allen is one of the best ever.
Bro, that's a good call. I was just thinking about Gorgeous the other day. I was like, man, I haven't seen that shit in a minute. But to your point, yeah, that final, fight scene. But again, the fact that Jackie decides to switch it up and just doesn't keep doing the same type of movie over and over again. He wanted to kind of give, some versatility. And I could appreciate, his, the range that he had, you know what I mean? And that's why I think all these movies we're talking about, because you'd get a couple of them joints like Twin Dragons and motherfucking Mr. Nice Guy that were kind of like, bro, that's like
I was debating on Mr. Nice Guy. It's such a fun movie.
Yeah, but like that's kind of like First Strike. It's almost the same shit. You know what I'm saying? You just was pumping them out. And I think a lot of people don't realize this, but Jackie was only spending, $2, $3, $4 million on each movie.
Right.
You know what I mean? Whereas here in America, we're spending 30, 40, 50, $100 million on movies. So like he could make, 10 of them shits for that price. So I think, he understood that, hey, this is a very minimal setup. We got to get these takes right. And he understood the severity of the pacing and how important it was. So yeah, man, that's a great topic. I haven't had a chance to talk about Jackie movies in a minute, bro. Like, thank you. This is great.
People need to talk about Jackie more. And before we go on to the last couple questions, I'm gonna put you on, if you have, to a newer movie with Jackie that I watched, and it's got some of the new cats that he's bringing up, and it's super dope. It is called. Let me look on where is it at here? Movies. It is called. Those are all 80s movies. Where is it? It's like the only new movie in here. It's called The Shadow's Edge. It is Jackie's in it, and Jackie does his thing, but he's in his 60s, almost 70s, so he can't be doing everything. But it's a lot of the new people in it do a great job. I highly recommend checking out The Shadow's Edge. I don't know if it's streaming anywhere. I did watch the streaming. Where was it? I think it might have been on Hiya, which I think is only like $4 a month or something. But definitely check out The Shadow's Edge. Really dope newer Jackie Chan film.
Let's go. I'm with it, bro.
So to close out, I'm gonna throw some quick hit questions at TJ here to close out this episode. Because we get long winded on this show sometimes, but we won't keep this one under 2 hours. So real quick, I hear your favorite video game is Mega Man X.
Yes, sir.
Tell me why you love this game so much.
Man, so crazy story is that my pops got his hands on a Super Nintendo. I don't know how he did it, but he got one. And like besides Super Mario Brothers, I think Mega Man X was the second game that we owned. And and my brother, when I would play it for hours, and I just loved the music. I think probably the first thing that caught me about Mega Man X was the music. The fact that these are like straight bangers. You know what I'm saying? Every single stage that this dude is on is like a serious like musical score, you know what I'm saying, with emotion and feeling and energy, and it's a whole vibe, you know what I'm saying? So
Facts.
and then like the concept of him getting different pieces of armor, the Zero character, I thought Zero was dope as shit. He's kind of like Racer X, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
He's like big bro who's kind of in the shadows just helping you out when you ain't really know it, you know what I'm saying? And the fact that he dies, you get his powers, and then you have to like again avenge him. I thought Sigma was a badass. I thought motherfucking all of the villains that they picked weren't corny, because I feel like I played Mega Man games before that. Like I played like Mega Man 8, Mega Man 9, whatever, you know, a couple of them OG joints, but like real corny, real, Flame Man or just some corny shit. But like with X, it was like edgier, cooler. It was 90s. It was fresh. And like X was struggling to beat these cats. I mean, like, if you didn't know the weakness, your ass was
You were
hit.
done for. Yeah.
You were done. Like, bro, good luck. You might have to play that 3-4 more times. You know what I'm saying? And I just felt like X was like the series that brought Mega Man back into the zeitgeist of being that dude. Like, okay, there's Mario, there's Sonic, and there's Mega Man. You know what I'm saying? And for me, it was Mega Man X that did that game. And, you know, I still have fun playing it to this day. But it's the same way I feel about Marvel versus Capcom. Well, I'd say between
Okay.
Mega Man X and Marvel versus Capcom, those are my two all-time favorite games. And I love them so much, it's hard to choose between the two of them shits.
Okay. Okay. All right. List for me your 5 favorite sports teams in order of least to most favorite.
Shoot. Damn, man. 5 favorite sports teams least.
Right. So
Uh,
starting at number 5.
Yeah, number 5. Shit, I'd have to go with oh damn, man. Oh shit. Oh, this is so difficult. So we got okay. Yeah, bro. I mean, I'd have to go with the Pistons for number 5, because while I love the Pistons, I feel like, you know, they're almost like the Knicks, where like they need work. They've always needed work, and they'd have moments like, you know, where they do really, really well. They come back, they win. And, you know, I'm just waiting for that next, you know, Pistons victory. And I feel like, you know, it's always going to be a legacy team that I love, but I know that they need work. And I think many of our Pistons fans know that they could do better, and we want them to do better. That's, I'd say, my number 5, which is hard to say because I still love the Pistons.
Okay.
I really do. Shit, man. Yeah. I got a 3, 2, and 1, but my number 4 is fuzzy. Sports teams. And we can do any sport, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Shit. Let's see. I mean,
Baseball,
I would.
soccer.
Oh yeah, I'd say the Tigers.
Okay.
You know, because the Tigers was another team like similar to Pistons, where I just loved them and I always wanted them to win, and they would get a chip here and there. Like the last chip is when we had Verlander back in the day.
No, we didn't win that though. We went to the World Series.
Oh, we went. You're right. We went to it, but we didn't win it.
I don't even know if we. I don't know if we won in your lifespan.
Can we? Let me see here. I'm just gonna
We
Google this.
because we last won in '84. So I don't know if we won in your lifespan.
Yeah. Okay. So
But you said you graduated high school in 01?
Yeah. So the last one was in 1984.
Yes, you'd have been what, 1?
I was 1 years old at the time.
1, yeah.
Damn. Yeah, bro. The Tigers, man, that's number 4, because they been needed a chip. They've been needed a win, straight up. I mean, and I could say number 3 would be the Detroit Red Wings, because I fuck with the Red Wings. I feel like, you know, I watched the Red Wings a lot growing up, and I love the fact that they held it down for the D and for Michigan as a whole, because they were always winning. They stayed winning chips.
Hey, we went 26 straight years of going to the playoffs before this recent drought. Most of our lives, the Red Wings were in the playoffs.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what I said, like, they held the torch to me as being like, this is one Detroit team you can count on to handle business and to win and do what and they were always entertaining. They always had a great squad. As a kid, like, I was like, "Oh, man, this particular player, blah, blah, blah." Like, I was always kind of, I was a Sergei Fedorov fan for a minute, but I'm pretty
Nice.
sure the Red Wings had was it, did they have a black player, or was that like the Calgary, Canadian team? But one of their
No, so you're probably thinking of Jerome McNelia, who played for the Calgary Flames.
that's the one, yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted him to be on Detroit, but I was like, okay, hockey's like primarily white, but they're opening it up a little bit. This is pretty cool. So, definitely the Red Wings in number 3. Number 2 is the Detroit Lions, man. I love the Lions something terrible. Like, if you cut me, I'll probably bleed silver and blue. It's that thick in my house when it comes to the Lions. My ladies will tell you, like, literally, I love that fucking team to a fault. And,
It
when they
hurts. It hurts
lose,
to love the Lions.
it hurts to love the Lions. When they lose, I feel like I've been hit with a goddamn bat. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
it just in the gut. And I'm like, oh, like, and you just cringe and you fucking reel from it. And, the fact that just a couple years ago, we were one game away from the fucking Super Bowl and we
Should have
couldn't
been. It should have never. I still understand how. I knew we were going. You know what? I knew we were going to lose that game, and I
the
knew.
refs, bro.
And I knew. No, no, it was not the refs. It was us. And I can tell you the moment when I knew we were going to lose that game, when we were up 20 whatever in that first half, and I forget which player it was, but he turned to that San Francisco crowd and started waving goodbye. And I was like, we have a whole half to play. What are you doing? And
Yup.
when I saw that, I said, the mindset is not right. We're going to lose this game. And lo and behold, we lost that freaking game. I think we could have beaten Kansas City that year. I
We
think
could have.
that was our Super Bowl. And that year and then the year after were our best chances at the Super Bowl. And now we've got players, now we let Montgomery go, which I think is stupid.
Uh,
We didn't give him the ball enough last season,
mm.
and I think I think that was not smart. And also, I don't believe in Jared Goff. I'm sorry, I like the guy, but unless he has all time to throw, he can't throw under pressure. We need somebody that can at least get some good throws off, scrambling out of the pocket, and it's not going to be Jared Goff, and it never has been Jared
Yeah.
Goff. I
Yeah,
he
mm. Yeah, he definitely had a spark when he began, but, like, he's,
and he's good.
old for a
He'll
fucking
get you
vet.
to the playoffs,
Yeah,
but
he'll get you there.
he's not gonna win. But he's not. He doesn't have it to win. Like, if we could somehow swap him for Joe Burrow, I would do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, yeah. He
Give
needs
me
somebody with
somebody
some
that can.
grit and
So
that's good under pressure, man.
yes, somebody that can to handle pressure on the move. I don't
It's
need
my
like
thing too is like, you had Tom Brady at Michigan and you couldn't fucking give him all the money he needed to come to Detroit. Why the fuck did we let him go to New England? Now, maybe he wouldn't have been Tom Brady if he was at the Lions, maybe because it was an org thing. But
part
like,
of it's an org thing, but like
yeah,
you can't tell me. My thing is, if once the divorce between Tom and the Patriots became apparent, and even though I couldn't stand him, I didn't think he was a good choice. Matt Patricia's there. You can't like. I'm sorry. I'm doing everything I can. If Tom wants to come, come. You want to bring Gronk? Bring Gronk. Like, bring whoever you want. Uh,
mhm,
we'll do. Let's do this thing. Because it's not like we didn't have talented players at that time. But
that'd been ill. Gronk and Brady.
remember we traded for him, and he opted for Gronk, and he opted to retire rather than play for the Lions. But
Mhm.
if Tom would have been there, oh yeah, he would have played.
He would have played with him.
He
Yeah,
would have played.
that would have been
Um,
interesting. Yeah, because I'm
and to me, then that was, and my thing was because
yeah,
he's a competitor. If I was, I don't know who the GM was at the time, but I would have called his agent and said, Tom says he wants a challenge. You want a real challenge, Tom? Come win with the Detroit Lions.
yeah.
You want to be the unequivocal GOAT.
Yup.
you win a Super Bowl with the Detroit Lions.
Yeah,
That
with
would make you.
no one's
No
ever
one is arguing that you're not the GOAT if you win with the Detroit Lions. No
fact,
one's arguing that. So
facts.
yeah, that
Yeah,
that's
and that Cinderella story would have been incredible too, just to watch that happen, and I think that would have been because it's like, okay, the Tampa Bay Bucks, you took Gronk, you went over there, you won,
yeah,
whatever, who fucking
yeah.
cares?
They were already a playoff team. It's like yeah, okay.
Bro, it's whatever, but like I said, I think that would have been a much more interesting trajectory, but, yeah, man, I love the Lions so much, man. I love them like they're my own fucking brother or sister that's fucking up, and I'm just like, "God damn it." You
All
know
the
what I'm
time.
saying?
All right, and who's your number one?
I got a cousin from Detroit that lives out here in LA, and we watch these games together, and it's brutal sometimes,
It's
but
painful. No, I hear you. Well, my co-host, who next time I'm gonna have to pull him in. He's from Jersey, but he's also a Lions fan. So we wallow in pain together uh, during the football season. And right now we're at odds because I'm a Pistons fan. He's an Orlando Magic fan. So right
yeah.
now we're at odds here in the NBA playoffs. But who's your number one? One
Yeah,
left.
number 1 sports team is Chicago Bulls, Michael Jordan era,
Oh, now I got to kick you off this show.
Yeah, man. Loved Jordan as a kid. I was a Pippen fan too, but I was a Rodman fan. I mean, I was a big Steve Kerr fan as well. Like, I mean, shit. Like, yeah, you know, Phil Jackson, just like the coaching. Like, I really did. Again, and surprisingly as a kid, I don't understand why. I just felt like I was always inspired by Mike's hustle and what he did and how he was able to do it. I know him as a person, couldn't vouch for how he was off the court, but like what he's able to do, that work ethic was just so inspiring to me. I still think about it as an
It-
adult. So I'm like, it's
there,
it's
there's nothing like anyone with half a brain and any type of perception can watch Mike play and like you should be able to watch him playing like, yeah, I get it. Nobody wants it more than this guy. And
Mhm.
like, I mean, as a diehard Piston fan, the Pistons are my number one team above all other teams. So Mike is eternally the enemy. However, as
Yeah,
as a basketball fan, someone who loves basketball, and I love the game more than above all, I can objectively look and say, yeah, this dude, he is that guy. And he took the lumps from the Pistons. He learned like, hey, I've got to get stronger if I'm going to beat these guys. I've got to be able to be not mentally stronger and physically stronger if I'm going to beat these guys. I can't let them. I can't let them get to me. I can't let them beat me up. I can't let them beat me up mentally. I can't let them mentally exhaust me, or they're going to continue to beat me. And he finally got over that hump. Um, we still have a winning record against Mike in the playoffs, but no
mhm,
one else can say that but the Detroit Pistons.
yeah,
But you know, Mike's hustle, his drive, even now, and as a 63-year-old man, his drive to succeed and winning. He's been winning all these. His team's NASCAR team been winning all these races. Yeah,
mhm,
part of that is due to his pursuit of excellence, success. So
yeah.
I can't knock anybody for loving Mike. I have the deepest respect for Mike. Loved this game, but
I think it's a problem when you're like, "Hey, fuck all like Midwest teams, and I'm gonna go over to the West Coast," and then it's like, or I'm gonna go all the way to the East Coast, like Boston. And I'm like, I can't stand the Celtics.
oh, I hate
Not
the
a
Celtics.
Lakers fan, not a Clippers fan, not anything. Like I said, it's the Pistons and the Bulls. Those are my 2 teams. And again, like it's because I got one love from being from Michigan, but then Chicago's still a Midwestern team. So I was like, okay, well, if the Pistons ain't doing it, then and the Bulls were at that time,
Yeah.
year it might have been. I'm like, okay, I could get behind them a little bit, but
Oh, it's
yeah,
and as a diehard Piston loyalist, I I ain't gonna lie. I rooted for the '96 Bulls. Shoot, they had 3 bad boys on that roster. They
yeah,
had Rodman on that team, they had John Sally on that team, and they
uh,
had James Edwards on that team. You
facts.
know,
Talk.
like so I was like, 6 of these players are some of my favorite players. They got 2 titles in Detroit. I have.
We were
I'm
robbing
rooting,
his fans before he went
yeah,
crazy when he was
yeah,
regular on Detroit.
I'm rooting for Pistons plus Bulls. Like it's like a
That's right.
combo thing. So
Right.
and it's I don't care. I can hate somebody, but I can't deny greatness and and not appreciate it. So all right. So last thing before we get out of here. Okay, I'm going to switch with my last question because the last question I had was going to be, I think, a little too long. So I'm going to ask you this. Give me a 5-issue pull list, curated 5-issue pull list of books that people need to read.
Oh, okay. Well, I think at the top of the list would be Musa Lion of Mali by Ray Comics. You definitely need to check that one out. That's at the top. But I would say for number 2, you could pull Crescent City Monsters by Dream Fury Comics, and number 3 would be Invincible from Image Comics. Number 4 would be Bitter Root from Image Comics,
Okay.
and then number 5 would be my favorite Superman story of all time is Red Sun from DC Comics. So you go with those 5, you can't go wrong. You got to be locked in with some good stories.
Facts. I'm gonna throw one in there.
Please.
Shout out to friend of the show, co-host of our Finalysis 101 sports show, the one and only Greg Burnham. Pick up a copy of Tuskegee Airs.
Oh, word up.
And he and Marcus are working on issue 5, probably live streaming about it now or did already today. Check out Tuskegee Airs. Add that to any pull list that you want to have. That's going to end this episode here of the original Jeek Podcast. I want to thank everyone for listening. I'm your host, RockinMrMagic. My guest, TJ Sterling of Ray Comics. Check out the episode description for links on how to find him and Ray Comics. Cop these books. I'm telling you, I have one in my cart already. I'm waiting for payday. Once my money comes in, cop, trust, and believe. And trust and believe that we could not do this show without you listeners who continue to support us. Please continue to rate and review the show. You can find us on so many platforms, and now our links are going to be shared with pod.link. So, there is a plethora of podcast players that pod.link has our show on there. So click on that link, click on your preferred app of choice. We prefer you listen on Good Pods or Spotify or Apple for these reviews or the interaction, because we can reply and respond, but listen to your app of choice. If you have questions, interests, comments, hit us up on Facebook or email us at jeeknation@gmail.com. And until next time, peace.
Ready to make an entrance, so backwards cut. Come on, clap for me.
Oh yeah. Whoa, slow down. Whoa, speed up.
This is DJ What, and you're listening to the original Jeek Podcast.